So I have been meaning to make this YouTube video for a very long time. But I guess I put it off for so long because I just needed to have enough time go by, and enough time has gone by. It's been years. In this video, I just want to talk about my spiritual awakening and maybe dark night of the soul kind of thing too as well. So I used to be Muslim. I'm not Muslim anymore, and I guess that's also what I kind of want to discuss in this video. So in 2017, I guess, was like the dawning of my spiritual awakening. It was the last year in which I was in my abusive marriage, living in St. Louis with a abusive ex-husband. It was fun. And so I'm not gonna go into like the full story, but like it got to a certain point where like things were so hopeless, and it was like I just remember like sitting in the bedroom, and it dawned on me, like, am I in an emotionally abusive marriage? And once I asked myself that question, everything changed. I started to, just like do research on abuse. Like, what is abuse? What is emotional abuse? What are the signs of abuse? Just like, what is this thing that I have found myself in? So it was like 2 weeks of intensive research, just learning as much as I can. And then, it just like dawned on me, it's like, yeah, I'm in an abusive marriage and I have no idea what to do. Because I've always told myself that if I were in an abusive marriage or relationship to begin with, I would leave. But I didn't know emotional abuse existed. I knew physical abuse existed. And then, that's obvious. Anyways, so it just, my spiritual awakening began with the realization that, oh my God, I'm in an abusive marriage. I don't really want to get too deep into the abuse part because I just realized that this is a video about my spiritual awakening. So, once I started to come to the full realization that I was in an abusive marriage, I was still Muslim. I was still really Muslim at that point. I started to see 11/11 everywhere. And at first it was like, oh, that's cute. That's cute. I'm seeing 11/11. It's what, a lot of the people out there like, oh, I see 11/11 on the clock. Make a wish. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. So I brushed it off, but then it just kept happening on the daily, like every single day. Every time I would look at the clock, it would have 11/11 or 2/11 or 5/11 or 6/11 or, anything like that. Or I would be reading a book and I would just be like, what page am I on again? Like, oh, it would be 111 or something. I would go to the store and, same thing. The receipt would come back 11/11. And at that point, it was like, something is happening. I don't know what. It's in the realm of numerology, which was against Islam, but it was like me rationalizing this. It was like, I as a Muslim, I'm not seeking this out. Whatever this is, whatever something is happening. I don't know what it is, but it's seeking me out. It's following me. I wasn't scared though. I was not scared at all. It was kind of just like, something is happening. I don't know what, but it makes me feel like I have hope. And so like a spiritual awakening is just like, it's like having the wool pulled over off of your eyes, or however, whatever that phrase is, and just like, just learning, just realizing that I was in an abusive relationship or marriage. It changed everything. It changed so many of my like, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Okay. Oh my god. It changed everything. It changed like how I saw everything. It changed how I viewed myself. It changed how I viewed love. It changed how I viewed my husband at the time. It changed how I viewed marriage. It changed everything at once. Was like, oh, this is not what it seems. It's actually different. It caused like a huge flip in perspective. And so like, you know, just, I'm gonna skip to the next part of the spiritual awakening. I don't want to keep talking about the abuse part. So cut to, I moved to Overland Park, Kansas. And I separated from my ex-husband, and I was living in Kansas. And so like, it was like, okay, I am now separated from my ex-husband and I'm gonna get divorced, you know? And I was like, I started to ask myself more questions, like, how did this happen? I'd never thought in a million years that I, Melanie Tran, would be in an abusive relationship. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? That's not supposed to happen, but it did. So I was like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? So I started to like learn more, and I guess this is like the beginnings of shadow work. I started to not like, I mean, I saw a psychologist and everything. I did the whole talk therapy, but I started to like ask myself deep questions about who I was and my family dynamics and why and how I got into an abusive relationship. So, what is the next part of the spiritual? Oh, okay. So also at that time, I started to really get into like, it was like the beginnings of like discovering law of attraction and manifesting. I had a friend back in my hometown in Sacramento who was like, he told me about the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Anyways, it's like the you know, book about basics of law of attraction and manifesting. And I guess like there was this one self-help book that also mentioned law of attraction, and I was like, I want to learn more about this. So I started to get more into like law of attraction and attracting like really basic things. And like, I guess that was like me, along with the shadow work and the 1111 thing, and law of attraction. That was the beginnings of my spiritual awakening. And it was also interesting because like I was still very, very Muslim, but it was also like, instead of solely looking to a higher power for all the answers and on all the guidance, I started to, for the very first time, look very, very, very deep within and seek my own power. That was the very beginnings of it. Just I'm just trying to think about what is the next part, the next relevant part. So I started to, okay, I guess I could cut to like 2020. So, well, I guess like it was like 2019, 2018. I was in a, I had a job at like it was an office job, and I met like this goth friend. He was kind of a pivotal kind of figure in helping me develop my spirituality, because he was very goth and very, very like spiritual and very, very like in tune with the depths of the universe and stuff. And it was like, yes, you and me, we're deep people. We're deep people. And it just, you know, like we resonated with each other so much. So he also helped me develop my spirituality. So I guess like in I'm getting distracted. It was 2020, the beginnings of the coronavirus, when the coronavirus was just like, you know, hitting the United States, and everything was starting to just shut down, and people were everyone was afraid and going into isolation, and you know, the stores were shutting down. Everything was just like, everything just stopped. It felt like everything was just stopping. And like, okay, so at that point, oh, I'm skipping things. Okay, so yeah, before that, okay, so before 2020, there was also a relevant thing. Before 2020, I somehow got into another abusive relationship. I have that in previous videos. You can watch that. I guess I think it's like few, like 2 or 3 videos, YouTube videos back on my channel. But oh my gosh, it's kind of hot in here. Hold on. No, I'm fine. I don't want to open the window because I'm talking to myself in a parking lot. But I'm fine. It's okay. So yes. Okay, so yeah, that second abusive relationship, it kind of took me further away from Islam a little bit. Because at that point, it was like I was really deep in survival mode, and I couldn't really think of anything else. And you know, like as a Muslim, as a good Muslim girl, a good, very, very pious Muslim girl, you know, I'm supposed to rely on Allah for guidance and help, but I didn't. It was like I couldn't think of anything. I was so numb. I just don't want to talk. It's hard to talk about these things, but I ended up going to the psychiatric hospital because I was like kind of suicidal and stuff. I remember it was like Ramadan, and it was like the last 10 days of Ramadan, Laylatul Al-Qadr, and this is like, it's supposed to be like the holiest time of Ramadan, but I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm in a fucking hospital. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So I was like, I don't know. And I wasn't wearing hijab. I stopped wearing hijab like a few years back before that. So no one knew I was Muslim. I was like, I really don't care. I don't really want to practice religion right now. I feel like I can make this YouTube video show. You know what? I always have this worry that I'm making my YouTube videos too long. But you know what? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Anyways. So, having gotten out of the hospital, you know, of my second abusive relationship, it was like, oh, okay, I got out of a second abusive relationship. This fucking sucks. I was living on my own for the first time, completely on my own, without parents, without roommates, without a boyfriend, you know, just me. It was like, okay, let's do this. We gotta heal. We gotta start the healing again. Deep trauma, deep trauma, deep isolation. And that was the beginnings of like, oh, Islam. Oh yeah, I'm a Muslim. I'm supposed to be practicing Islam and believe in Islam and stuff. Yeah, it was hard. I was like, I don't know. It was just, I still considered myself to be Muslim. But it was like, my heart was not in it as much. And so, yeah, cut to 2020. That was when the real pain and isolation and deep, very, 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 very deep depression and despair. Oh my God. Okay, so I guess like my dark night of the soul happened like after I got out of the psychiatric ward. I guess it started then, but like the dark night of the soul really took really deep effect when it was like the isolation parts of the beginnings of COVID. I just remember, oh my gosh, I just remember being in so much emotional pain and despair that I just like stopped praying. I mean, I tried to pray even just a little bit, like 2 times a day, or I skip a day and then like the next few days is like 5 prayers, you know? And then it's like, it was so inconsistent. I was like, you know what, just what the fuck is the point of this? Who's watching? It's just me. And so I remember just like being so okay, I don't really want to I don't really I gotta like catch myself. Like I don't want, oh, okay. I just remember being so angry at Allah for putting me through so much pain that I just remember like crying, sitting on the bathroom floor for like hours, just crying and just like so angry, cursing at Allah out loud. Like, and I just remember the thoughts in my head, like, if if you truly want me to be Muslim, why would you put me in so much pain that I either want to like be suicidal or leave Islam? It's just started to not make any sense. Because it was like, you know, in Islam they say, it is said that Allah will not put you in a situation that you can't handle. But it was like, I fucking can't handle this. Like, are you kidding me? To the point where I want to leave Islam, or just like deep mental health depression issues. I was like, what is the point of this? And so I guess, yeah, that was a major turning point in me being Muslim. You know, like the years after that, as time went by after that, I still considered myself to be Muslim, but it was like way less. I considered myself to be Muslim, but I slowly stopped practicing Islam. I remember moving to like the next nearby city in Kansas, and I had a roommate who was Muslim, because I was like, you know, I'm still Muslim. I need to find a Muslim roommate. But I stopped praying. The only time I prayed was when we prayed Maghrib together, most of the nights. Yeah. And at that point, that was also a major turning point. I started to get really, really into spirituality. Like I just started to learn about myself more. Cause I am neurodivergent a little bit. I mean, like, I don't have like autism or anything, but like, I'm a super, super empath. And, you know, I'm a hypersensitive personality, in which means I have very, very sensitive feelings, but also I'm very physically sensitive. Like, more, I mean, I'm an introvert, but even more than an introvert, I get even more overwhelmed by environment and emotions, both mine and other people's energies. So where was I going with this? So yeah, I was just starting to learn about who I was as an empath, as a sensitive person, as developing my spirituality. I started to believe in law of attraction and spiritual stuff a lot more. You know, I started to collect crystals again, because I was like, oh my gosh, I feel energy from things. And I never realized that before. I mean, like, I knew I was an empath, that like holding like crystals, I could feel the energy from holding them, and I was like, damn, I am kind of different. Yeah, so I guess, like, I don't know how much more I want to talk about this, but a huge part of my spiritual awakening was like leaving Islam and realizing that I don't have to seek outside validation from a higher power to tell me what to do. I have this power from within. And that's like the abusive relationships, and like how like my family dynamics, and like, you know, just like having low self-esteem and like low confidence and no boundaries, and, you know, in my childhood and my teenage years, it just like led to being in abusive relationships. That was also a huge factor in my spiritual awakening. So leaving Islam, and getting out of abusive relationships, and just like all this pain and trauma, it helps me truly see things and myself for what it is. And you know, pain does that to you, because in order to, if you have a lot of trauma, if you truly want to overcome that, and like, enough of this bullshit trauma, I never want to do this abuse thing again, and I never want to like feel this shitty again, like low self-esteem. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I wanted to be this like ideal person I've had in my imagination, in my head, of who I was supposed to be. I knew that if I wanted to be that person, that ideal person that I am now, thank God, then I had to do a lot of the inner fucking work, the deep shadow work, the looking at myself deeply, at every aspect of myself, the ugly aspects, the weakness, my weaknesses, you know, just like everything. It was so fucking painful to do that. but I had to do it. I had to. And in turn, I'm no longer Muslim, but I'm okay with that. I still believe in God. I do believe in a higher power and a higher consciousness, but like definitely not, you know, a deity within a religion who tells you, you know, what to do, and if you don't do that, you're gonna go to hell. I still have a lot of Muslim friends, and I respect Muslims, and I respect Islam, but it's definitely not for me. I respect other people who have faith in religion, and if that makes them happy, if that makes them feel, and if it makes sense to them, then, I mean, by all means, be happy, be a Christian, be a Muslim, be, you know, whatever, as long as it fulfills you. But going through so much dark shit, it knocked the Islam out of me, and I'm okay with it. At first I resisted it. I was like, I'm supposed to be Muslim, and just like the cognitive dissonance, like I was like, I'm supposed to be Muslim, I want to be Muslim, I need to be Muslim, but like I had gone through so many experiences that pulled me away from Islam, which is totally valid. So it's like, yeah, so that's my spiritual awakening story. I've been meaning to make this video for so long. I'm so happy that I'm more in my spiritual element. I've always been more spiritual, even way before I was Muslim. I just needed Islam at that certain point of my life because it made sense to me, but it doesn't, just like being in tune with myself spiritually and following my own intuition and my own guidance, my own inner power, it just, I've never been happier in my life. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's my story. All right. All right, bye.